All right, well, it sounds like something from a disaster movie, maybe a Discovery Channel special. A giant meteor hitting Hampton Roads, right? But you know what? This isn't some future kind of disaster that we're talking about. This is actually a scene from the past.
News Channel 3 meteorologist Patrick Rocky shows us what happened millions of years ago and how it could spell disaster for us tomorrow.
Although more than 15 million people live along its shores, on most days the Chesapeake Bay is a pretty quiet, peaceful place with little hint of its violent, explosive birth. 35 million years ago, a meteorite or comet 2 miles wide blasted an enormous crater nearly as big as Delaware and deeper than the Grand Canyon along the coast of what's now Virginia.
You have a tremendous release of energy far beyond nuclear blast.
The impact sent molten rock high into the atmosphere, kicked up 500-mile-per-hour winds, and created giant waves that reached the peaks of the Appalachian Mountains. Eventually, that crater filled with water, and Hampton Roads grew up along its shores. But that meteor impact is still having a big impact on us today, and could be the seeds for a coming natural disaster. You see, Hampton Roads is sinking. And Hampton Roads homeowners are already paying the price. Companies like Foundation Systems in Williamsburg charge thousands to prop up sinking homes.
90% of them come out of the homeowner's pocket.
These crews must bore as deep as 50 feet under a house to find solid ground, and then actually jack up the house like you jack up your car to fix a flat tire.
It's called slope creep. The ground slips a little bit, unnoticeable by eye, but after 10 years, you have half-inch cracks in your house.
But what if the sinking weren't measured in inches, but in feet, and didn't take decades, but seconds? Researchers with the U.S. Geological Survey say that is a possibility. They're now mapping the Chesapeake Bay impact crater, drilling core samples, and studying the damage to the earth under Hampton Roads. And what they found is alarming.
There are many faults around both below the impact crater, within the impact crater, and around the margins of the impact crater.
Those fault lines they found could shift suddenly, damaging or even destroying buildings above. And researchers are even more concerned about our drinking water. The meteor impact left pockets of extremely salty water deep within the crater.
In the Chesapeake Bay crater, the water is actually saltier than seawater, probably about 50% saltier than seawater in much of the central crater area.
So here's that setup. That salty water is down here, and it's beginning to flow into those fault lines we talked about and closer to the fresh water that we drink. The more of that we pump out of the ground, the more salt water moves toward it. That won't happen with a big bang, but it could be a big disaster. I'm News Channel 3 meteorologist Patrick Rocky.
All right, so here's an example of how violent that meteor impact was. People in Georgia and Texas are still finding debris from that meteor today. If you want to learn more about the Chesapeake Bay impact crater, go to our website, WTKR.com, click on news links, and then look for huge East Coast impact crater.